Hey everybody, Steve Billman here. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we are going to continue our video series, Rhythm Studies the Basics. And today we are going to learn some polyrhythms, but not just learn the polyrhythms, we're actually going to apply it to a groove to our instrument. If you haven't seen the rhythm scale tree video, I would recommend seeing that first because I go through the counting for these polyrhythms. I will cover that a little bit, but you really should see that video first if you haven't seen this one. So basically the idea of what we're going to do is we're going to phrase different note values in groupings of two. So that's going to give us, for at least two of the examples, a polyrhythm. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play first quarter notes, and then I'm going to play eighth notes, and then triplets, and then 16th notes, and then finally I'm going to play quintuplets. But the trick is I'm going to phrase each one of those in groups of twos. So what does that mean? It means that after every second note, whatever the note value is, after every second note, I'm going to place another accent. So for the quarter notes, the eighth notes, and the 16th notes, it's not going to do much except create more accents in a measure. But with the triplets and the quintuplets, because they're groups of 3 notes and 5 notes, that's going to create a polyrhythm. So I will be in 4/4 time, but when I play those polyrhythms, you're going to hear that I'm going to sort of go off of the click. I'm still in time with the click, but the phrasing is not going to be matching where the click's at. Okay? So that's the basic idea. So let's talk about the triplets. So when I play the triplets, what's going to happen is this is going to give me what we call a 3/2 polyrhythm. Now, this is a rhythm that we experience with quarter note triplets. So if you played quarter note triplets before, then you're going to be able to play this rhythm pretty simply. A quarter note triplet is just a 3/2. It's 3 notes in the space of 2 beats. Okay, so in a measure of 4/4, though that 3 phrase is going to happen twice. It's going to happen on beat 1. The triplet will go over the sort of the beat, and then in beat 3 we'll play it again. So that's going to be for the triplet, and I'll explain in a second how we can get these polyrhythms just simply by changing the syllable. All right, so for the 5 grouping then, quintuplet, there's 5 notes in the space of each beat. And again, there's 4 beats. But what we're going to do is we're going to accent after every second quintuplet. So what that's going to do is it's going to give us 5 accents in the space of 2 beats. So again, we're in 4/4. So that means there will be 2 groupings of those 5 accents per measure. And this is giving us a polyrhythm of 5/2. All right? Okay, so let's talk about the syllables for a second. So on the triplet, any 3-note syllable, or actually, I'm not going to use it right now, but any 3-note syllable, we learned in the previous video that I mentioned to use the syllable takite. So if I'm playing a triplet, takite, 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 takite. Now, the magic of using the Indian counting is all I have to do is I'll keep the speed of the triplet, right, of the takite, but I'm going to change the syllables to taka, which are the syllables we use for a 2-note phrase. But remember, you got to keep the speed of the triplet. You don't change that. So if I start out with the triplets, takite, 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 takite. Now watch what happens when I go from the takite to the taka. Here we go. Takite, 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 taka, 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 takite, taki, takite, takite, taka, taka, taka. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that gives me that 3/2. I've got 3 accents in the space of 2 beats, okay? So that's for the triplet. For the quintuplet, then it's going to be the same concept, but we have to find the quintuplet first. So again, it's 5 notes in the space of each beat. And the previous video that I talked about, I explained how to count that. And we're going to say da, de, gina, dom. So da, de, gina, dom, 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 da, de, gina, dom. Now, again, in that first, or that video that I talked about, previous video, you're going to spend a little bit of time in that video just counting the rhythms. And that's why I would recommend spending some time on that first video, because counting the rhythms is a little challenging, especially some of the syllables can be a little bit of a mouthful. So you want to spend a little bit of time just counting them at first. And actually with this exercise, you can count it before you play it as well. But the idea is that we're going to take da, de, gina, dom with the quintuplet, so 5 notes in the space of 1 beat. And all we're going to do is we're going to change the syllable to taka. Okay, keep the speed of the quintuplet, but then change the syllable. So da, de, gina, dom, da, de, gina, dom, da, de, gina, dom, da, de, gina, dom, taka, 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 taka. Okay, it's as simple as that. Now, simple might be an understatement, but the idea is that just by changing those syllables, keeping the speed of whatever note value you're on, you're going to get a polyrhythm, either with the triplets 3/2 or with the quintuplet 5/2. So there will be 5 accents in the space of 2 beats. And because we're in 4/4, that means that there will be 2 groups of 5 accents before we get to the next measure. Okay? All right. So I hope that makes sense. And now let's try the exercise. All right, you guys, let's try it. So I'm at 60 beats per minute. And as always, you can do these exercises or examples slower if you want. You don't have to do it at 60 beats per minute. This is just where I'm at. And also, I've put the chime on downbeat so we can hear where the 1 is each time we play these patterns. Okay, so I'm going to give you 4 beats, and then we're going to start. Here we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there you go. Now, when you start playing these, you guys, it's okay to take the individual, especially the polyrhythm ones. It's okay to take the triplets and the quintuplets and just work on those patterns before you start to try to go from the top to the bottom. But the idea with the exercise is I'm going from the quarter notes all the way straight down to the quintuplet, and then I'm going backwards from the quintuplet up to back to the quarter notes. And the idea is to keep it with the click and to make sure that those transitions, especially between the polyrhythms into the 16 notes or into the eighth notes, making sure those transitions stay in time. And it's a hard thing to do. And on any day, I can get it and then I can not get it. So these are the kind of things you want to continue to work on. And it's going to sort of help that inner clock. It's going to help our independence rhythmically. But like I said, it takes time. And I didn't play it perfectly by any means. But again, as you do it, it gets better. And the ultimate goal is to make all those transitions and all those grooves sound really tight and really smooth. All right. So this will give you a challenge, I'm sure. Take your time with it. Have fun with it. Thanks you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.